Through management. We understand that multifamily assets are in the business of being professional landlords. We also understand that their purpose is to generate a positive net income stream. And we also understand that they are valued on a multiple of their ability to generate that income stream. So having said that, one of the things I love about multifamily assets is our ability to dramatically increase its value by increasing the net operating income of that property through sound property management. Now I'm going to show you how companies exist in the United States that specialize in these things, and I'm going to show you how that relates to the bottom line. So let's go back to our example before of the 100 apartment complex. This apartment complex is generating $1 million net operating income, and let's say that we bought it at a 7% cap rate, making it a Class B asset, which is now valued at $14.3 million. Now, by implementing some of these ideas, you may be able to increase the value of the rental by $20 a week. I think it's fair to say that if it's currently generating $1 million a year in rental income, that we may be, with a little bit of cosmetic renovation or repositioning of that asset, increase the weekly rental by $20. If you are able to do that, then you would increase the value of the property, if it is a Class B asset, by $1.4 million. Now notice that if it's a Class A asset at 4%, the income increases, or the growth increases by $2.5 million. Now, if you're also able to not only improve the quantity of the income from 1 million to 1.1, but improve the quality of that income from being a 7% or Class B asset down to, say, a 6%, so a 1% improvement, the value of that asset becomes $18.3 million. So to have a look at that again, improve the quantity of income by $20 per week. Improve the quality of income by a 1% cap rate, results in an increase in value, a gross increase of 28%. That is why I say to you that by improving the net operating income of these properties, you are able, by improving the quality and the quantity, to also significantly improve the value of these assets. So how do they do it? Guess what? It's a magic formula. You increase income, you decrease expenses. Sounds really simple, doesn't it? Well, it is simple, but I can tell you that the professional, specialised multifamily property managers have brought this down to an absolute art form. A few things they do, things that we do here in Australia as well, simple things like a cosmetic renovation. If they can improve the cosmetic appeal of a property, then a tenant who's willing to pay $1,000 a month in rental may be willing to pay $1,100 a month in rental if they improve the kitchen from that to that. They do other things, such as adding tenant facilities. Remember, these buildings, these apartment complexes, they're competing against all other apartment complexes. So if they can add extra gymnasium facilities, if they can add pool rooms, things that I refer to as little luxuries for the tenants. They can have business centres and internet access for tenants as well. They also have highly advanced technology and computer-based systems. One thing I find extremely interesting about these assets is every single apartment complex has its own website. Every building has its own website, not the manager's website, the building has its own website. Why is that? Well, remember, it's a business. And if you owned a business, whether it's a coffee shop or a printing business, what does it have? It has its own website. So what they do is they work on marketing strategies to improve things such as search engine optimization. If people are looking for apartments in downtown Los Angeles, they want to be higher up in Google. And they do this all through the internet. These websites give people the ability to go in and have a look at the facilities, they look at the vacancies, they look at the prices. But the next part here, which I refer to as Yield Star, which is the box on your right there, is one of the most advanced computer systems I've ever come across in my life when it comes to property management, and it's something that's exclusive to multifamily. I want to paint this picture for you. We're in Dallas, Texas. It's the head office of a company called RealPage. Now, RealPage is an American software company that produces one piece of software, and that is multifamily apartment management systems. All right, so all multifamily owners will buy this software. So it's a software manufacturer. So as we're driving up to the building, I noticed it was a building. It was about 7 stories high. It was one of these long, skinny buildings. So it's probably 50 or 60 meters long. And at the top of the building, it had RealPage. And as a joke, I turned around to our driver who was taking us there. I said, "What does RealPage do? Do they occupy the whole building?" He says, "No, sir." He says, "They occupy the entire compound." And I turned around and there were 7 of these buildings. I said, what does this company do again? He says, they make the software that we use to manage multifamily assets. I said, that's all. They manufacture software and maintain software. He goes, yep, that's it. I said, what do they need all this space for? He's come inside and I'll show you. So we walked into a room which is probably about the size of this room here. And this room here, let me paint the picture for you. You know a 50-inch plasma screen? Take one 50-inch plasma screen, put it up on the wall, and put another 19 next to that. So you've got 20 plasma screens going across. And then multiply that by 3, so that's 3 deep. And on every single one of these plasma screens, on every screen are about 20 different graphs. I said, what are these graphs? What are they measuring? He says, we're measuring everything. You see, because we manufacture this software, and people all over America use this, we manage over 6 million apartments. So what we're doing is we're capturing the data from every single street, in every single suburb, in every single state. So with extreme accuracy, we can tell you exactly what price you should be charging for an 1,100 square foot apartment on XYZ street in XYZ suburb today. Do you know how you ever catch a plane and you buy your seat from Sydney to Melbourne for $110 and the person sitting next to you paid $140? What's the difference? The difference is at the time of purchase. Or you book into the Western and I pay $300 a night for the room and you pay $330 a night for the room. What's the difference? Well, a computer system, an algorithm has worked out that right at this moment when you're making that booking, that is the optimum price for that seat or for that hotel room. And that same exact software exists. It's called YieldStar and it's exclusive to multifamily. So with an absolute science, they're able to increase net operating income. When you walk through and talk to the on-site property managers, they are all 100% focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's increasing their owners' net operating income. Their performance is judged by it, they're rewarded based on their ability to improve vacancy rates and tenancies and so on and so on. So everything they do is calculated and it's designed to optimize that. They create additional income streams. We walked into one beautiful apartment, it's called the Watermark Tower, downtown Los Angeles. It was an older style building, wasn't looked after very well. It was a very high net worth company. They sold their company for $2 billion. What did they do with the $2 billion? Well, they started buying some of these apartments, and it was managed by the owner's daughter. And she was so passionate about real estate. She took us through the whole building and showed us all the different changes she's made. Now, being downtown Los Angeles, they get a lot of musicians, a lot of actors, and so on and so on. So they have the different facilities in that property to accommodate things like that. For example, the apartment may be a 1,100 square foot apartment, which is about 105, 106 square metres. So if you've got a big party, it's really not that much space. So they've got this room downstairs. It's called the dining room. And it's a dining table that seats about 20 different people, 20 people around the dining table. Beautiful decor in the room. And at the back of the room, they've got these wine cabinets, lockable wine cabinets, where every single tenant can get a key, obviously at a price, and you can store your wine there in a temperature-controlled environment. So if you've got guests coming over, you can book out this room for $110 a night, and it's yours. And next door to this room is a movie theatre. You can then book that out for $60 a night, and you can have 20 people in the movie theatre. And these are different ways where they attract tenants to their buildings, but they also use it to increase net operating income. You've got things like, in the fourth picture you see there, a furnished apartment. Now, they're not leasing that apartment out furnished, but if you've got an apartment complex with 300 apartments in there, and they're nice apartments, and you have guests coming from interstate, instead of getting them to check into the local hotel, get them to stay in your apartment complex. The guests like it, the tenants like it because their family and friends are staying close, and the owner likes it because guess what they do? They charge. Probably what the same hotel would have charged, but it's adding value. They're very big on improving their sense of community because the sense of community in the apartment complex leads to lower tenancy turnover, leads to higher tenancy renewals, lower vacancy rates and lower tenancy delinquency, which results in one thing and one thing only, and that's increased net operating income. They also focus on reducing their expenses. Now, without going into too much detail into how they do this, they've got on-site management that look after everything from leasing, tenant renewals, advertising and marketing. They're focused on improving the efficiency of operations within the property. They also have their own on-site maintenance staff. So if something goes wrong with one of the apartments, instead of having to call the local plumber who charges you a high fee, these people are on wages. They make up part of the expenses of the property, and it costs you far less. To put it in perspective, if you've got a 220 apartment complex and you have a 5% turnover rate of tenants, that means that 11 tenants are moving out every single month. And when one tenant moves out and another one moves in, the apartment needs to be cleaned, needs to be tidied up, and so on and so on. The same way it has to be done here. And the shorter the time period the property is vacant, the greater the income. All right, so everybody from the property manager right up the hierarchy is responsible for improving net operating income. The structures they have are very structural, hierarchical structures. You've got everybody from the leasing manager on side, you've got the assistant manager, the property manager, who then reports to the regional manager. And the regional manager probably looks after 6 or 8 buildings, and every property manager reports to them. And you can walk into one of these assets and these property managers will rattle off the numbers from the top of their head. They know exactly what their delinquency is, they know what their vacancy rate is, and their performance is measured by that as well. They handle all the in-house accounting for you. So you basically give them your checkbook, they give them money in the account, you work out the budgets with them at the beginning of the year, you get monthly reports, you can get daily reports if you want, because all these computer systems are online. So you could be here in Australia managing your assets, looking at it online. Not that you want to look at it daily, but your monthly reports, if there's a variance for what your budget is. The on-site property manager has the right to spend a certain amount of money. They handle all the administration for you. They handle in-house marketing. Now, I'm going to show you how these properties are marketed. We walk past one building. Now, this is a perfect example of a C-class building, which has been converted to an A-grade building. Now, anybody here been to Disneyland in California? Remember the ride called the Hollywood House of the Tower of Terror? Well, that ride where the lift just drops is based on this building. Now, we walked into that building, and as I said, it was a C-grade building, and we pretended like we wanted to rent one of the apartments. And this is what they gave us. Now, this is the marketing document that you would expect to receive if you were buying an apartment, wouldn't you? Nice, glossy brochures. But the market over there is very focused on adding value to tenants. And this is what we got when we made an inquiry about rentals for the property. Now, of course, this building, Hollywood Tower, does have its own website, as does every other multifamily asset. And if you buy this building, it'll cost you many, many, many millions of dollars to buy this one. This one's in West Hollywood. Then you're buying the business of being a professional landlord that is backed by quality real estate assets. And you've got the ability of improving that by improving the value of the income. And guess what? US property managers usually charge somewhere between 7 and 10%. In Australia, it's about 7%. They do all this for a property management fee of 3%. You see, ladies and gentlemen, what I need you to understand is that when you're dealing at an institutional level, as an institutional investor buying institutional grade assets, you are paying institutional rates. Because these people manage so many of these assets, the economies of scale make it possible for you to only pay 3% as your property management fee. The gentleman who wrote this book, he's the real estate advisor to Robert Kiyosaki, an author of The Advanced Guide to Real Estate Investing, a number of other books, a very good friend of mine. I meet up with him, well, not every time I go to the US, but quite often. And he's got this quote. He says, "I love multifamily real estate." He says, "I don't have to worry about the value of the properties around me. All I have to do is worry about operating my property to its optimal performance, and the value of my asset is based on that and that alone." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the crust of what multifamily assets are, and why I believe that with good property management, we're able to improve the value of these assets and not only get better rent yields over the time, so it goes from 8% to 9% to 10% and so on, but also to get some significant levels of capital growth as well.